It's a pleasure to be here today. As you know, we have been conducting an extensive review of government's agencies, boards, and commissions. These agencies do important work on behalf of government, such as delivering healthcare services, providing benefits to injured workers, and ensuring the safe, responsible development of Alberta's energy resources. This three-phase review is looking at all agencies to determine if they are efficient and well-governed. Alberta's agencies, boards, and commissions are responsible for the administration of almost half of our province's budget. That's a big responsibility, and Albertans need to know we have the right people leading those agencies. And Albertans need to know that the way we set their pay is fair and reasonable, and in line with important public service work they do. It's also a priority for this government to continue to bend the curve on spending and to ensure that every penny we spend is used to make the lives of Albertans better. That's why we worked to reach a historic agreement with doctors to reduce the cost of health care by $500 million over the next 2 years. And that's why we found $250 million in budget cuts in each of the last 2 years while protecting the frontline services that families rely on. We also know that many Albertans continue to struggle in this downturn. While there are some positive signs of recovery, we have a long way to go yet. And while the province starts to recover from the downturn, our government is working to make your life better. That's why we've capped electricity rates, banned door-to-door marketing of electricity contracts, and provided rebates to help families deal with energy bills. That's why we cut the small business tax by 1/3 and introduced the Alberta Child Benefit to better support low-income families. For years, the Auditor General has been recommending that an area where government could find savings and reduce the cost of government was in our agencies, boards, and commissions. But for years, the previous government failed to tackle the problem. Instead, they sat by while some executives got big raises. They failed to act when bonuses, perks, and benefits got way out of line with public service salaries. And I'm here to say that those days of standing by are over. Our government is committed to ensuring that the compensation of public servants working in agencies are held to the same standard as a civil service. We are committed to ensuring that executive compensation is fair and is driven by a clear and consistent framework. That's exactly what I'm here today to announce. We took a microscope to the executive compensation packages of 23 of the largest agencies, boards, and commissions. I know it hasn't been easy for the folks who were having their pay and benefits reviewed, and so I thank them for their patience. I also want to thank these very talented executives for their ongoing work and contributions to serving the public interest and all Albertans. What we found was that up till now, determining compensation has been a bit of a free-for-all. As the Auditor General has repeatedly pointed out, as early as 2008, the boards of the ABCs were never provided the common framework to follow when determining their executives' compensation practices. What we are announcing today is a new regulation that finally addresses this issue. The regulation resets the base salary of CEOs and their equivalents in designated agencies. The regulation will eliminate all bonuses for executive and excluded employees. The regulation also eliminates all executive market modifiers, which is added pay over and above a regular salary. The regulation will also cap executive severance pay at 12 months. It will restrict other compensation components, such as benefits, to match public service limits. and it'll eliminate perks including signing bonuses, club memberships, and housing allowances. The base salaries of 10 chief executive officers will be reduced. We will be implementing these changes and treating all those affected fairly and appropriately. Other provinces have already tackled this important issue and implemented similar solutions, including BC, Ontario, Quebec, and Nova Scotia. By doing this, we will save government and the agencies close to $16 million a year. But more importantly, it will provide a consistent framework that assures public dollars are being used wisely. We want to make sure that ABCs are focused on the right things and doing their work in the right ways with the right people steering the ship. The changes to compensation for executives and excluded workers will ensure that we continue to employ terrific people who will be paid fairly for their efforts. Thank you for listening, and I have time for questions.
Are you worried that with the lower pay you might lose some talented people?
You know, what we're doing as a result of the review across the country is benchmarking these positions so that we understand and can point to other similar positions across the country. So we're not concerned about that. We're treating people fairly, as I said, and there'll be a 2-year notice period on these changes taking place. So people have a time to adjust, and they'll also know that the benchmarks show that they're being fairly compensated relative to others in similar positions.
I noticed that with the ISO reasoning for them not being part of the framework, it says we're trying to maintain executive continuity. Why is continuity a problem there, but it wouldn't be at the other agencies?
We're not subjecting ISO to the regulation. While others in the electricity agencies are being subjected to that, it's because ISO is playing a crucial role right now as we transition the electricity market to a capacity market. We want to ensure there's strong leadership continuing through that electricity transition, and once we're through that, we'll consider bringing ISO under this regulation.
Minister, what kind of reception have you received from those who will have their salaries reduced, and from the boards that set those rates?
Yeah, this morning I had a conference call with all of the 23 agencies, boards, and commissions, and in addition others. And there was an understanding of why government was doing this work. There was questions to clarify some things, but the reaction I would characterize was respectful, understanding, and appreciative.
And have you received any resignations as a result after that conference call?
I don't know that. I can check, but I doubt it.
Did they first learn about it today?
Today I contacted the chairs of all of those boards and asked them to relay the information on to their CEOs, and they've done that.
Can you explain what you hope to see in these executive compensation plans for these 5 others? Is the aim, is the instruction to them to try and bring down executive compensation, or what do you hope to see in here?
Well, what we hope to see is that those 5 will continue to, that they'll look at the regulation that we've put in place, and they'll work to provide us with annual assurance that they are reviewing the compensation packages of their executives. They have to provide me with that information on an annual basis, and my approval is necessary to assure that their packages fit generally with what we have here. We've excluded them for various reasons. I talked about ISO here, and the 3 others that have significant exposure to the private market, whether that's on the investment side or insurance investment side, have some rather unique circumstances where they have to be competitive, and they have to be able to attract talent that gets the best return for Albertans with regard to the finances. So they have to provide me, and the short answer is they have to provide me with assurance that they've understood what our regulation is, and I will approve those compensation packages.
So at AHS is the expectation, no more bonuses, 12 months?
They've eliminated bonuses actually at AHS.
How does Covenant Health fit?
Pardon me?
How does Covenant Health fit?
Covenant Health, you know, that's not part of the designated agencies or positions that we have here. I understand that the minister is dealing with that directly and probably direct the questions to her.
Minister, where are we at with the AFSC investigation? And is it my understanding that the CEO who was sent on leave is still getting full pay? Is that right?
Yeah, so where we're at is that the new hire for this position will obviously fall under this regulation.
Okay, so we're done with the investigation then?
You have to direct that question to the Minister of Agriculture and Forestry. What I'm talking about here is setting the compensation framework for the CEOs, and that's outside of the scope of what I'm talking about.
So he's out then? So is he still being paid?
You know, you have to direct your question, but my understanding is that that person's contract is up shortly.
Despite, I mean, I understand that that was a special situation, the CEO, there was some transition, but why could a base salary not be set? It's not like the fundamental core of that job would be changing regardless of who was holding that job. So why do we have to be?
There's an asterisk, do you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's to be.
The CEO of that organization will come under this regulation when that person is hired.
Is this just, we don't have the new base salary because we haven't hired that person and don't know where in that band it fits? Is that essentially it?
You know, I need to, just let me look at the regulation.
Are you still reviewing AIMCO, Minister, or what's the status with the AIMCO? Because you've been reviewing all boards and agencies, so AIMCO would be part of that, right?
AIMCO is one of those 5 excluded agencies, if that's what you mean.
So I'm trying to understand then, a bit of a tangent point, then why did you repeal sections 5 and 6? And are you not concerned that you may not get the qualified people you need?
No, we repealed those 2 sections because they're redundant with the processes we've put in place, which for board members will be open and transparent, and we are bringing AIMCO's regulation in line with the government's new appointment process so that we are nonpartisan, we are open and inclusive, and we are attracting the best people for positions. And it's not necessarily who you know in the government of Alberta anymore. It's not who you know anyway.
Well, 5 and 6 are gone. They're effectively still there because you put in a different process.
Yeah, we have the new open, transparent process the government of Alberta has put in place to attract board members, and so it's redundant in terms of AIMCO's provisions. Yeah.
Minister, can you address the investment issue with respect to AIMCO? Like a lot of the criticism you've received on taking 5 and 6 out has been with respect to you're going to have people on the board who don't have that investment expertise that 5 and 6 insured. Can you? And that's been a lot of the criticism.
You know, the 2 new people who have recently been appointed to the AIMCO board were under the new processes that we have in place, and so we were able to source some really talented people. So I don't worry about any of that, actually. I have close working relationships with the board chair and the board and the CEO of AIMCO, and they know we share interests in getting the best people to that board. And as I was saying earlier, that there's a redundant regulations that we have taken out so that we're all aligned. And certainly the kinds of people that recently got appointed are proof that things are continuing to work well.
Let's move to the phones. Operator, can you put through the first caller, please?
Our first question comes from James Wood of the Calgary Herald. Your line is open.
Hello?
Hello, Minister. Sorry, there's a bit of a time delay with this new phone system. I wanted to ask you about a slightly different topic as the controller of the government's purse strings. Is the NDP government giving any consideration to changing the funding model for schools, such as moving funding away from private schools?
You know, that is something that is not obviously what we're talking about today. The education minister is probably in the best position to do that work. And in budget coming up next month, you'll see where we have landed with regard to the budget for the education ministry. Choice is an important part of Alberta education and parents' views. And I would just kind of continue to reiterate that we're not dealing with that today.
Do you think a strong public system is, I guess, compatible with the level of funding given to private schools in Alberta?
Just furthering my answer, what I previously said, when we're talking about compensation, we're talking about a different thing entirely. I'm not talking about the education ministry's budget. The minister has shared views and will continue to share views of government in that regard, and I would ask you to talk to him.
Minister, we still have two more bodies to, or sections of ABCs to review, but are the big savings,
phases, you mean?
Phases. Are the big savings now behind us though, or is there still?
I don't want to presuppose what we're going to say in the future, but I can tell you that we're doing that work now to bring those phases forward. And when that work's done, I'll be back in front of you to report on that.
What would you like to know though, when do you want to start getting some work done on the universities?
That's phase 3. That's phase 3 of.
Something done by the end of the year on that?
Yes.
Are we going to see a similar salary review on the post-secondary side?
Again, I don't want to presuppose where we're going with that. We're doing a lot of work. This last piece of work is something that's taken a lot of coordination. Obviously, it's sensitive work to be able to talk to people about their pay packages and what's in them. We have excellent staff who will continue to drive phase 2 and 3 forward. And when we're concluded on the recommendations, we'll be back before you.
Those salaries will approach $1 million a year. Is that concerning you?
You know, what concerns me, and I think what concerns Albertans, is that we have the right framework in place to compensate people. What we have seen with what's before you today is things got out of whack as a result of the previous government not taking time and attention to follow up the Auditor General's recommendations that were made twice back in starting as long ago as 2008. So we're moving on all things that need to be done to make Albertans assured that we've got their back and we're making life better for them. We're doing things that are fair. We're putting a transparent process in place, not only for pay packages, but for appointments to boards.
In your research, did you find out why the previous government didn't?
You can go ask them. They're around. The things this government is doing is moving forward.
What they say.
Pardon me?
What you say might be different from what they say. I'm just wondering what you heard.
Yeah, I can't imagine what defense they would have. As far back as 2008, 2009, another report called the McCrank Report that made the same recommendations. They need to answer for those things directly. I have my views about why they didn't do it, but we're changing things. We're making it so that you have to have competencies to get into not only board positions. It's not who you know anymore, it's what you know. And I suspect the same sorts of things were too lax in the previous government. They didn't do the things that the other general recommended they should do, and that's on them.
Let's move back to the phones. We got one more caller on the line. Operator, can you put the next caller through?
Hi, thanks for taking my question. I have a couple. On the first one is of the new base salary, every single one of these is either the top end of the recommended range or the existing base salary, every single one. Why should people consider this a dramatic overhaul?
Because over $16 million will be saved annually by the resetting of this, the compensation frameworks, by the elimination of perks, by the elimination of generous allowances for compensation. The work that Hay Group did in consultation with our staff here was to look at approximately 200 public sector comparators across the country and to come up with ranges, and that's what's before you. We believe that the work is solid, it'll stand up, and we've given agencies, boards, and commissions, the chairs of those areas, 2 years to bring their compensations of those CEOs and others in line with what's before you. There'll be a kind of a restructuring of salaries below the CEOs as well, and you have some of that information. So I think I'm proud to stand up and say this is the work we've did is stands up. It holds up from comparisons across the country, and that's what we're presenting.
On that then, of the 16 million annually saving, what is that as a percentage of the compensations of the ABCs on the pay now? What's the context?
In some places it's dramatic. I can go on a position by position basis, not off the top of my head, but in some places there was a 17% reduction. In other places it was larger than that, where there was a bigger variable pay component. So for those individuals, 10 individuals, there is a range of impact to their compensation, in some ways small, to other ways more dramatic. I don't know what the total amount you're speaking to is, and perhaps people here can tell you later.
We'll come back to the floor if there are any other
A
questions.
lot of these salaries, Minister, are still higher than the Premier. Would you like to see them reduced a bit, or is that an apples to oranges comparison?
That's an apples to oranges comparison. As I said, the work was done looking at other 200 public sector comparators. You probably need to look at similar Premier amounts across the country to see if our Premier is underpaid or not.
That's a report you were mentioning, Mr. The
Pardon?
McCrank. What was it, McCrank report?
That's right.
What year was that? Do you know off the top of your head?
Before 2007. Yeah.
We'll take one more question, then we'll wrap it up if there is one. All right, we'll leave it there.
Pardon me?
We've heard March 16th.
2 days in a row, hey?
See you later.